Hello. Today we're going to be looking at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now we have looked at HTML and CSS in our past lessons together, but before we actually look at JavaScript, we need to understand how the first two work. And so you can see an example of a sample page that you might have or that you might create, in which in this example I just create a very simple paragraph that just says player 1 is Chris. Okay, now this is the extent of things that you can do with HTML. You can create content, you can make it we can make it appear on the screen, okay, but when it comes to actually add properties that allows the content to look visually pleasing and nice to see, that's when we'll have to include CSS. And so I have a sample of CSS code that I'll copy and paste, and from what you might remember, you can either reference your CSS code to another file, or you can paste your CSS code inside your head location of your HTML file. Okay, and so if I save this file now and then I go to my HTML page, now that I've applied these properties that some of which might be familiar to you, so you can see that you can change the font, you can change letter spacing, you can transform all of the text to uppercase, you can make it so that it's centered, and there's other properties as well that you can try out in your own time. But since now I've saved, I can try to see what are the changes that are applied when I have CSS code in my program. And so if I refresh it, you can see that now from having a basic paragraph, I actually have something that looks more like a button that I can, click on. Okay, and all of the properties that I've added in here through CSS are what made this button look the way it does. Okay, now with JavaScript we're gonna go one step further. So we change the way that the text or the way that this paragraph looks, okay, but with JavaScript you can basically change the way something behaves. Okay, and so at the moment I've added the property cursor pointer so that the mouse changes to a pointer when I go over it with my mouse, but nothing really changes. Okay, so nothing really comes up when I click on that button. And so I'm gonna give you an example of some JavaScript code that you can put to have something happen. And so if I paste this JavaScript code, okay, and I'm gonna paste it at the bottom part of my body. Basically what this code does is basically allow the user to click on the button that we've created through the paragraph, and allow the user to actually enter their name. And so you can customize your pages by allowing user to interact with the program itself. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save it, and I'm gonna refresh it. So there is no change that happened, okay, because what I've done with JavaScript is that I've changed the way that the program behaves. Okay, and so if I click on it, now you'll see that I'll have a pop-up box coming on the screen. There you go. So it says enter a new name, so I'm gonna put my name and press OK, and you can see that now I've changed the look of the page by having some code in there that changes the behavior of my page. And JavaScript is basically this. It's something that allows you to change the content of your page dynamically. So it's not just something that happens at the very start, but you can change what happens in your page as it goes.